Have you ever wondered what happens while we sleep? Why we get that sudden feeling of falling while we're lying in bed, or why we sleepwalk, or why we hallucinate? Any of those things, if any of those things interest you, stick around for this episode of Mysteries Mysteries. I am Mr. E, and we are going to be talking about all things mysterious in the wonderful world of psychology. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through a typical night's sleep for the majority of people on Earth. So, what happens is the first step that we go through these various stages. And the first stage that we hit is going to be called stage one. And that's when we're lying in bed and we are relaxed. We oftentimes are thinking about our day. We're thinking about what happened. We're thinking about maybe what we have to do the next day. But what happens is our body is starting to relax, right? Our body is kind of chilling out. We're hanging out, but our mind is still kind of active. And then we're lying in bed, right? And all of a sudden it feels like you are falling, right? Or you get that sudden jerk and your whole body like twitches, right? So that's called a hypnagogic or a hypnic jerk. And it's really common. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not losing it, anything like that. But what's actually happening is your mind is sending messages to your body saying, wait a second, I'm still awake. Why are you resting? So the mind or the brain will send a message to the rest of the body saying, wake up. And then we get that feeling of, right? So that's a hypnic jerk. That's step one. Now, please make sure you comment. If you're a sufferer of myoclonus or restless leg syndrome, make sure you comment on this episode and tell us what you experience. So my mother-in-law has restless leg syndrome, incredibly bad. And that's called myoclonus, the technical term. And what happens with that? This also occurs in stage one sleep when we are awake and relaxed. And what happens is it's not like when you're sitting in a chair and you get the Jimmy leg, your leg starts to twitch and you're sitting, right? But it's a really powerful tingling sensation in your leg. And you feel like you have to move your leg, or in some cases, both legs. That's called myoclonus. There are medicines out there to help fix that. We're not going to get into those medicines right now, but that's also going to occur during stage one. Again, if you experience that, let us know. Okay, while we're going through this, we have all of these sleep cycles. We have all of these different waves that are happening in our brain. So we have these wavelengths that are making sure that our brain is active, right? When we go into stage two sleep, we go from these alpha waves, which are choo, 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 to these sleep spindles, which are boom, 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 whoop, boom, 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 whoop, boom, boom, boom. If we are going to be in a sleep lab doing a sleep study, as soon as researchers see those sleep spindles, they'll know that you are officially asleep. So sleep spindles are what tells researchers that we are actually asleep, right? So that stage two, that's when we fall asleep. Okay. The next stage is going to be stage three. Stage three is deep sleep. Now, in stage three, we have a whole lot of stuff that can occur. And again, some of you will know this right away. Others of you will be just fascinated by it. So stage three is deep sleep. Now, instead of having these sleep spindles, what we now have is delta waves, which stand for deep sleep. Delta, deep, easy to remember. Spindle, sleep, easy to remember. Alpha, awake, easy to remember. So now we are in delta or deep sleep, and now our brain waves are nice and slow. Now, during deep sleep, our brains are slowing down, and the main job of the brain at this time is to keep us alive, right? So we still have the heartbeat, we still have the respiration, our body temperatures are still being maintained, those types of things are still occurring. But this is what's really fascinating, and a lot of people don't know this, but deep sleep is actually when our body is quite active. So when you are tossing and turning or shifting in your sleep, and let's say you fall asleep in one position and you wake up in another position, you moved during deep sleep. Because during deep sleep, your mind is moving slowly, but your body can actually move around. So it is actually during deep sleep where people sleepwalk. And during deep sleep, because our brain is not super active, that's one of the reasons why people don't remember sleepwalking. It's also one of the reasons why you shouldn't wake up a sleepwalker, because when they're in deep sleep and you wake up a sleepwalker, they're going to be incredibly confused, and they could respond with a fight or flight sort of action where they're going to start swinging, that sort of thing, because they're going to be so disoriented. So that's a couple of the things that happen during deep sleep. Now, you might wonder, if your brain is inactive, how can you sleepwalk? Well, walking is an incredibly simple task. We don't have to think about it. We use virtually no energy to walk. So people can sleepwalk because you really don't have to think about walking. So that's why you can sleepwalk when you're in deep sleep. Mind is inactive, body is active. Okay. So those are a couple of the interesting points with sleepwalking. Again, somebody who is a sleepwalker is called a somnambulist, just so you know. There's a little piece of information there. So during deep sleep, that is the one point in time in our lives where our brains are nice and quiet. We need that to just settle things down. Okay. So to recap, we're in stage 1. We're awake and relaxed. We can experience restless leg syndrome or that feeling of falling. Stage 2, that is the onset of sleep. Okay. Those sleep spindles, those are the ones that are going to recognize that we are now officially asleep. And then stage 3 is deep sleep. Our mind is quite inactive, but our body can toss and turn. We can sleepwalk. We can sleep talk. We can sleep cook. And in some cases, people have even sleep driven before. So from here, we go to our next stage, which is back to stage 2. So we go stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. Then we go back to stage 2. So our mind is kind of waking up, but we're still asleep. Our mind is slowly waking up. And then we go from stage 2, instead of going to stage 1, we go to REM sleep. REM sleep, rapid eye movement, is our next stage. So it kind of replaces stage 1. So stage 1, 2, 3, 2, REM. Now when we're in REM sleep, now we're the exact opposite of deep sleep. This is when our body is paralyzed. Our body cannot move when we are in REM sleep, okay? But our mind, our brains are incredibly active. So it is during REM sleep that we have dreams, that we have nightmares. REM paralysis, which is the paralyzed body while we're in REM sleep, stops us from acting out our dreams. Acting out our dreams would be very bad. And I'll give you a little example of this. So there are people that suffer from something called REM behavior disorder. They dream just like you and I, but people that have REM behavior disorder, they have a failure of REM paralysis. So this failure of REM paralysis makes them able to act out their dreams. This is bad. Story of a young lady in a town in Kentucky who was having a dream that there were 2 robbers in her house. She dreamt that she grabbed a gun. She dreamt that she shot the robbers and that she saved her parents' life. Okay? She wakes up to the sound of sirens and police officers yanking her out of bed, where in bed they find a gun. She wakes up. She has no idea what went on. In fact, what happened, she had a failure of REM paralysis. She acted out this dream. And when she thought she was shooting these intruders, these robbers, she actually shot her parents. One of her parents died. One of her parents survived. And this was an action that she was not consciously aware of. She was found not guilty by reason of insanity, not because she had a mental illness, but because she didn't know if you remember our insanity episode, it was because she didn't know at the time what she was doing was wrong, and she was unaware. It was non-premeditated, and they did a sleep study with her, and they did find that she suffered from REM behavior disorder. So REM paralysis is incredibly, incredibly important for us. It protects us while we sleep. Super important. So again, to review what we went on, we have stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 2, REM. And then we go back to stage 2, stage 3, which is deep sleep, stage 2, REM. And we go through that cycle. The cycle lasts 60 to 90 minutes per episode. We go through that cycle 4 to 6 times a night, depending on how long we sleep. And the amount of time we spend in each one of those stages changes. Early on in sleep, we spend more time in deep sleep. That's because our brains are really tired. But as we get closer to wakefulness, we spend more time in REM. This is actually incredibly important, because as we get closer to wakefulness, we spend more time in REM sleep. That means our brain is more active and it's waking us up, which is vital. So when our alarm clock goes off and we wake up, we are ready to go. Now, if there are any parents out there and you have teenage children and you say, my child shuts off their alarm every morning, it's because their alarm is probably going off when they're in deep sleep. They have no recollection of shutting off their alarm, and they do it automatically. They don't have to think about it. So if that ever happens to you, go ahead and just change when you're going to set your alarm. Set it for 15 minutes later or 15 minutes earlier, and hopefully you'll land during REM sleep. And when that alarm goes off, you'll hit that button and you'll be ready to go. Just a little piece of advice. This is just, honestly, it's just the surface of what happens while we sleep. I'm going to do an episode on dreams and why we dream and some of the dream theories. I'm going to do an episode on other sleep disorders that we did not touch on today. And we will touch on just other biological rhythms and other circadian rhythm type issues like 25-hour sleep-wake schedule disorder and other various topics, insomnia, et cetera, et cetera. So if you found this interesting, hey, stay tuned for some more moving forward. Make sure that you follow us on anywhere you can find podcasts, Spotify or Apple, YouTube, etc. Follow us on social media. A big shout out to Bear with Unify Agency, my producer and director extraordinaire, who does an outstanding job every week. And finally, hey, make sure you rate us, give us 5 stars so we can keep climbing that ladder. And finally, please make sure you comment if you experience any of these things while you sleep. If you have questions about some things that occur while you sleep, make sure you send us a note and we will get back to you. Hey, thanks for joining us. I hope you have an awesome day. Take care.